Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 7 at Delaware Park's one of 2 graded races on the card, one of 3 stakes races on the Saturday afternoon program. It's a 3-turn turf marathon at 1.3 miles for fillies and mares. The Grade 3 Robert G. Dick Memorial, $250,000 is the purse. Let's take a peek at this field. This is a pretty competitive group. Just take a look at this morning line. Your morning line favorite is the number 8, Miss Yearwood, 4-1 on the line. She's won her last 2 races from way off of the pace, and she really seems to appreciate these longer distances.
She really does seem like she really likes longer distances, Dan. Not a bad spot for them to ship into here, but you're right to point out her running style, because you know where she's going to be early, and that just kind of makes it a little bit harder to take any kind of short price on her.
Hard to imagine there being a ton of pace in this race. Maybe our friends at Timeform US can help us out. They believe the 6 Lady Rockstar can get to the lead. She has shown tactical speed in her career, but she is far from a blazer. She's also going to be removing blinkers. Via Reggio is stretching out in distance, so she's been chasing faster fractions, but I'm not sure they want to get close to the lead. I wonder if Lovely Princess tries to go for it, because she was close to a fairly fast pace when run down by Miss Yearwood last time out.
Yeah, she really was. They stretched her out to 1.5 miles last time, and she got closer. Prior to that, she wasn't really showing a lot of speed in her races, Dan, but I can see her going forward. I thought this pace was pretty tough to decipher. I actually felt like you might see the number 2 in this race, one of the Clement runners, Ever Summer. She feels like she's going to be a price in here, but I think they're going to go with her.
I think she'll be ahead of the number 1 Parnack at the very least, so I'll disagree with Timeform US there, both trained by Christophe Clement. Speaking of Parnack, she stretched all the way out to the first time to these longer distance races, and she liked it. Maybe she has found her niche. This is a second level allowance at Belmont, going the 1.3 miles. She swings to the outside. She runs down this field, and she was always an okay horse at middle distances. Maybe this is what she wants to do.
Yeah, I really like this performance from her. This is a really strong win. I love the way she's staying on in the late stages of this race. Dan, she's going to close it down at the end. She went 1 for 5 when they got her over here last year, but I think she ran a lot better than that record makes her look. She had some circumstances that were really, really working against her in some of those races. I thought she looked really good winning last time.
Clement put blinkers on the number 2 Ever Summer for her seasonal debut off of a fairly lengthy layoff, and she got it done in a first level allowance. Now, there wasn't a lot of pace in here, and she got right up close to the lead. She makes the front turning for home. You see the 3 Lullaby Land, who tried to get into it with a mid-race move. You see the 1 Anatolian trying to get into it after a ground-saving trip in the pocket, but Ever Summer's going to find the wire first, and all things considered, off the long layoff, coupled with her good tactical speed and upside potential, she has some price potential in this race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much more she can improve, because if nothing else, this feels like a pretty strong addition to this race, Dan.
Yes.
And she's going to have to take a pretty big step forward to win here. She was fine last time for all the reasons that you've already pointed out, but it just didn't seem like that strong a field, and this field is very strong.
We'll see if she's flattered by the performances of the 2nd and 3rd place finishers of that last race. They're back at Belmont on Friday. Lovely Princess is the number 3, and she stretched out last time out in the Kirtan, and all things considered, I thought she ran very well for Ken McPeak. The pace seemed very strong. She made the first run into it. She made the lead. She was confronted by Miss Yearwood, and she really didn't give that much ground in the stretch. I like the fight that she showed, and I think she's still getting better.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not the first time that she's run well when McPeak let her have a little bit more distance to work with too. They finally stretched her all the way out last time. And she just took another step forward, Dan, surrounded by closers at the end of that race. And she was pretty much, right up close the entire way around the track. That was a good performance.
One of those closers was the number 4 Talbea, going out for Mark Cassie, a horse that had done well going 1.25 miles overseas. Cassie had spent the first 4 starts of her North American run at middle distances. They stretched her out in the Kirtana. She came with a bit of a run. She had some traffic issues that day. I think she can do better, but she's another one of these horses that might need a little bit of pace and a lot of racing luck.
Yeah, I didn't like her running style for this race. She's another one who I feel like is stepping into a much tougher race this time than even the one she was in last time, even though she ran okay that day. And she's also Dan, one of those horses. I remember, her North American debut last May at Woodbine. She was really impressive winning that day, and I haven't really liked any of her races since then.
It's a big step up in class for the number 5 Frivole, but I wonder if Graham Motion's found a good spot for her. She wasn't facing the best of the best overseas. Motion got her. We know he's great off layoffs, and he ran this horse off a lengthy layoff and a first level allowance at Churchill, and she won pretty handily. Now she's got to prove it against tougher competition, but we know distance is no issue.
Yeah, exactly. She did look good winning last time. She ultimately got a really good trip in that race, but I think you have to like the way that she finished it off and sort of got away from those horses in the final furlong. When you start going through that field through Formulator, Dan, it feels like more than anything else, Motion might have just found a really good spot for her. It didn't seem like that strong of a field, but she looked good winning.
How do you feel about Lady Rockstar going this longer distance of ground? I like to race in the Swanee River at Gulfstream going a mile. I like to race in the Pegasus World Cup going a mile and a 16th. She was very headstrong in the very one going longer. Last time out in the Modesty, she didn't run well at all in her first start off a little bit of a layoff. So I have questions about her form. I have some questions about her distance, but not her quality. She fits from a class standpoint.
Yeah, I agree with you. She's a tough call in this race. Boy, she was pretty bad last time. So I guess you just sort of, got to try to find a way to get past that. Prior to that, I really liked her form, Dan. I don't really want to give up on her in this race. They tried blinkers last time. It obviously didn't work out. They're going to come right back off for this race. I do not mind her stretching out in distance for this because I actually felt like when she won at Belmont last summer, going a mile and a quarter, I thought she looked really good winning that day. And her race 2 starts back going this distance, I don't think is as bad as it looks on paper. I've got to give her one more chance here. I think she's going to be a fair price, and I want to use her.
Sopran Basilia is the number 7. She's a group winner in Italy, and Graham Motion had her entered in several spots, and he was just stymied by weather or track cancellations or one thing or another. But every time I talked to Graham about Sopran Basilia, it was she wants to go long, and he kind of had to run her in the Gallarette Preakness weekend at a mile and a 16th. Not only did she run into a very good Chad Brown train runner named White Beam, she just had too much left to do in the stretch, but she's running on at the end. And I have a feeling she gained a lot of fitness from this race and is going to really love stretching out.
Yeah, that's how it looks on paper. You've already mentioned that's how Graham Motion was looking at her too. And just the way that she finishes up in here, coming from last, she's going to get up for second in here with no chance to run down that favorite on the lead there. It just felt like the perfect prep race for this horse. And now they're going to stretch her right out in distance.
In some ways, Miss Yearwood is the horse to beat. She's looked good in her last 2 races going long in Kentucky. She beat several of these last time out, but you could also make the argument that the race flow was in her favor in the Kirtana. It was a race where mostly dominated by closers, and Miss Yearwood came from way out of it.
Yeah, I mean, she probably did have the right setup last time. I still thought she looked good winning. I liked her win 2 starts back as well, Dan. I'm just a fan of hers. I think she's pretty good. And I don't really mind them, with a little bit less distance to work with here. I don't think it's really going to be that much of an issue. Boy, I just hate her running style. If she's going to be the favorite, I'll try to beat her in this race, but I'm a fan of this horse.
The number 9 Via Reggio has class. It's all about distance. She's a group winner at a mile and an eighth overseas. She worked out a pretty good trip to win her North American debut, going a mile and a 16th. Last time out, they ran her in the Game League going 9 furlongs. It was sort of an even performance in between horses. She did earn a respectable figure in that race. If she can stretch out, her second dam one going a mile and a half, so maybe there's some hope there. She can maybe find her a good early position. We'll see how far she wants to go.
Yeah, that could maybe be the only thing that holds her back here, Dan, if she doesn't really want to go this far. But it's just hard to argue with what she's done, even over there and even in her first 2 starts over here. She ran well in both of those races. This is a good spot for her. And if she gets the 11 furlong, she's supposed to be tough.
I like the way the number 10 Inanna's Quest won that mile and 3/8 race at Tampa Bay. 3 starts back. She was steadied on the first turn all the way back to last, and then she looked good running by that field. It was a much weaker group of $16,000 starter handicap horses. Here's her most recent turf start. It's at Delaware 2 back, and this time around, she's only going a mile and a 16th. The pace wasn't very fast. She stays on okay to run third. Her last race on dirt's a throwout.
Yeah, exactly. Third off, a little bit of a layoff this time. It's good to know that she can get this far, Dan, but man, did she step into a really tough race here.
And Deciding Vote completes this field. And she's a very useful horse. She's done well at Delaware in the past. And she was second in her most recent outing, going a mile and a 16th at Parks. And this Parks track can be a little tricky at times. I thought all in all, the trip for the most part was good for Deciding Vote. She's going to split horses. She's going to try hard to finish second behind a useful winner in bipartisanship. I like her going a little bit longer. We'll see if she wants to go this far.
Yeah, go this far and against these kinds of horses, they're pretty big obstacles. I mean, she's, is what she is. She's very consistent, shows up and she runs every single time, and she can get the right trip in this race, Dan. The only question is she good enough?
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Robert G. Dick Memorial. Sopran Basilia wants distance. She's getting it here. Second start in North America for Graham Motion, and she'll be running hard in the stretch.
Yeah, I like her stretching out for this race. I thought she made a good appearance in her stateside debut last time, Dan. I took her on top in this race. I'm not done with the 6 Lady Rockstar yet, Dan. I got her second.
I think I'd probably use my top 3 in any kind of multiple race wagers. I want to give Via Reggio a chance at this longer distance. Like you, I am a fan of Lady Rockstar, although I'm a little more dubious than you are about distance. And I do think Lovely Princess ran one of the better races last time out in the Kirtana, and she might be coming into her own. 7-6-8-9 for Mike, 9-6-3-8 for me. Race 7 at Delaware on Saturday. Graded stakes action on the turf. Good luck.